Hello lords and ladies, welcome back to Cartoon Hangout, your place for all things cartoon. We're almost through with Season 1 of Ben 10, but first we've got to talk about Episode 12, Side Effects, the penultimate episode of the season. Now, what is this episode's villain, you ask? It's Clancy, controller of bugs. Oh boy, are we in for an episode crawling with bug puns? Surprisingly not. There are a few, but gratefully, Greg Klein, the writer for this episode, spares us that. I'm not against puns, otherwise I'd have hated the Xanth novels and Chugga Conroy. It's just that sometimes they can bug you. As most villains go, a bug-based one isn't high on the originality scale, and if you're watching a series about a superhero or just superpowered characters in general, you're bound to run into one at some point. Take my episode 1 review of the original Powerpuff Girls, which you can click on this card to watch, which featured a villain who also controlled insects and wanted to destroy mankind. That's just one example, I promise you there's more. Now, of course, it doesn't alone merit me criticizing the choice in bad guys for this episode. It's all about execution. You can take a worn-out concept and revitalize it, but this episode doesn't really do that. Let's go down a checklist. Does he look creepy and basically look like a slob? Check. Does he live in a run-down building? Check. Does he want to destroy mankind and or view insects as superior to humans? Check and check. By all accounts, he doesn't seem to be that good of a villain, and we don't even learn how he came to possess his powers. I do know he appears later in the series, so we'll probably have to wait for some explanation, as I don't really recall. What saved this episode from just being an okay episode was the fact that Ben got sick. Ben already has to deal with the watch constantly messing up, or giving him the wrong alien that he wanted. So watching his human illness mess with his alien forms was hilarious and illuminating. Wild Mutt couldn't see because mucus was clogging his gill-like nostrils. Forums translated Ben's hives into pus-filled pockets. Gross. And more interestingly, Heat Blast gained the ability to shoot ice. That last one was the one I enjoyed the most because thus far Ben has no ice-based alien and won't until, I believe, Alien Force with Big Chill. For a second when I saw the blue flames, I just assumed the sickness had made Heat Blast flames even hotter, as I think a blue flame tends to indicate a hotter temperature than a regular orange one, but that turned out not to be the case. Now, I could criticize this episode for how the insects moved when in a tightly clumped swarm, or when they formed around Clancy, but I'm not going to. Why? Because I do understand animation is a difficult task, and animating hundreds, if not thousands, of tiny insects would be too difficult unless you used a lot of CGI, I imagine. So yes, while at times insects looked really weird or seemed to be glitching out at times, I'm giving it a pass and asking the animators if they need a hug. Besides that, the only other criticism I have is the lack of any guards in the nuclear plant. One could suppose Clancy took care of them, but I don't remember seeing any bodies laying around, do you? It's a small detail, but one that could have helped ease my suspension of disbelief over a nuclear plant being pretty close to a city. I mean, it looks really close by in this shot. Other than that, I say this still ended up being a good episode, even with an uninteresting villain and the fact that this ended up being the second to last episode of the season. I was really expecting something more, but I still enjoyed the episode. What about you? Did you enjoy it or dislike it? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to consider checking out my other cartoon reviews and Let's Plays. Then subscribe for more of that. Thanks for watching. Take care.